In a sun-drenched valley in rural Japan, where lush green hills meet a bright blue sky, a single wooden house stood. Smoke curled gently from its chimney, a quiet signal of life waking up. The air was filled with the distant call of a rooster and the soft hum of early morning insects. Inside, a vintage clock on the wall ticked and talked, its hands pointing to 6:30. A young boy, 10-year-old Harisu, slept soundly on his futon, lost in dreams. In the kitchen, his grandmother, her silver hair tied back neatly, moved with a gentle grace. She wore a clean white apron as she washed rice in a ceramic bowl, the water splashing softly against its sides. On a wooden board, she sliced a bright yellow rolled omelette, the knife making a firm, satisfying thwack with each cut. A pot of miso soup bubbled on the stove, and as the rice cooker hissed, a thick cloud of fragrant steam filled the room with the warm, comforting smell of home. Grandma walked over to Harisu and gently shook his shoulder. "Harisu-kun," she whispered, "the sun is high." Harisu yawned and rubbed his eyes, his messy black hair sticking up in all directions. On a hook nearby, his school uniform, a yellow cap and blue shorts hung waiting for him. Soon, he was sitting at the low wooden table. Grandma placed a tray before him, a perfect picture of a traditional Japanese breakfast. There was a bowl of steaming rice, miso soup with little cubes of tofu, and a piece of perfectly grilled fish. It looked like a scene from a beautiful painting. Harisu clapped his hands together and said with a bright voice, "Itadakimasu." He took a big bite of rice, and the warm steam washed over his face. Grandma watched him, a peaceful, loving smile on her lips. On the porch, a calico cat stretched lazily in the morning sun, its tail twitching with contentment. With his backpack on and his yellow cap secured, Harisu stood at the door. "I'm going now." "Ekale daut." "Take care," Grandma's warm voice followed him as he stepped outside. Harisu walked down a narrow dirt path. The crunch of gravel under his shoes the only sound, besides the whisper of the wind through the rice paddies. Fluffy white clouds drifted slowly across the sky, like giant ships sailing on a sea of blue. Soon, two figures came running up behind him. It was his friends, Kenji and Takeshi. They laughed and chatted excitedly about a new beetle they had found the day before. Kenji swinging his lunch bag with joyful energy. Their path led them to an old, red wooden bridge that arched over a sparkling stream. Harisu trailed his hand along the cool, mossy railing as they crossed. Below, a cluster of dragonflies hovered over the water, their wings a blur of motion. In the distance, their school appeared a charming, old wooden building that seemed to have stood there for 100 years. As they got closer, they could see other students in their yellow caps gathering at the school gate. Then, the rhythmic ding-dong of the school bell echoed through the valley. The boys hurried into their classroom, swapping their outdoor shoes for indoor slippers. The room smelled of aged wood, old books, and chalk dust. Harisu found his desk, near the window, a small wooden bird he'd carved sitting proudly on its corner. The teacher entered, and the class fell silent. "Class, please take your seats." She paused for a moment, a small smile on her face. "We have a new student joining us today." The classroom door slid open, and a girl stepped inside. She had short, dark hair and a shy smile that hinted at a gentle nature. Harisu's eyes widened, and he felt his heart give a little jump. The girl bowed to the class. "My name is Sakura," she said, her voice soft. I moved here from Osaka." The teacher pointed to the empty desk right next to Harisu. Sakura walked over and sat down, giving Harisu a quiet nod as she did. Harisu quickly looked away, feeling a blush creep up his cheeks. The lesson began, the sound of chalk tapping against the blackboard filling the room. Harisu tried his best to focus on the book in front of him, but his eyes kept drifting to the girl beside him. He watched as Sakura took out a blue pen. It had a tiny star charm dangling from the end, and it made a faint, tinkling sound as she wrote. Harisu found himself listening to that little sound, a melody only he could hear. Outside, the sky had grown dark, and a gentle summer drizzle began to fall against the window panes, turning the classroom a cozy, misty blue. When break time came, a group of students immediately gathered around Sakura, peppering her with questions about her old school and life in the big city. Harisu stayed at his desk, pretending to be absorbed in his notebook. He began to draw a small picture of the red bridge he had crossed that morning, trying to capture the way the light hit the water. Suddenly, he heard a quiet voice next to him. "That's really beautiful," Sakura whispered. Harisu froze. He looked up and saw her looking at his drawing, her eyes kind and curious. He couldn't find any words, so he just gave a small, shy nod. For a moment, she just smiled, and the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. Just as quickly as it started, the rain stopped. The sun peeked out from behind the clouds, painting a brilliant rainbow across the valley. Both Harisu and Sakura turned to look out the window at the same time. Their eyes met for a fleeting second, and in that instant, everything felt perfectly silent. Harisu quickly looked back at his book, his heart beating like a drum. The school day ended with the familiar sounds of students tidying their desks, but for Harisu, everything felt different. His friends had gone a different way, so Harisu walked home alone. The valley was bathed in the evening glow, a breathtaking mix of deep orange and purple light. He stopped at the bridge and looked down at his reflection in the stream, Sakura's voice echoing in his mind. "That's really beautiful." As twilight deepened, fireflies began to emerge from the grass near the water, their tiny lights blinking on and off like fallen stars. From a distance, his grandmother's house looked warm and inviting, a single point of light in the fading day. He took off his shoes at the entrance. "I'm home," he called. The house smelled wonderful, like soy sauce and grilled ginger pork. "Welcome back," Grandma said, setting the table. "How was school?" Harisu sat down, his chopsticks hovering over his rice. "It was, okay," he said slowly. "We have a new girl in class." Grandma raised an eyebrow and smiled, but didn't press him. Harisu ate his dinner in unusual silence, lost in thought. The warm glow of the lamp overhead and the rising steam from his food creating a cozy bubble around him. The sound of crickets singing their nightly chorus drifted in from outside. After dîner had the porch the bright full moon. He held a small, smooth river stone he'd picked up earlier, turning it over and over in his hand. He wondered if Sakura was looking at the same moon from her new home, wherever that might be. Across the valley, the small house glowed, a tiny spark of warmth and light in the vast, peaceful darkness, holding a boy and his brand new secret. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.